So you might want to pump the brakes on this whole student loan forgiveness. Hey, what's up everybody? Ralph here. So yesterday, Joe Biden, he made good on his promise and was able to, forgive up to $20,000 of student debt. Now, depending on your current debt status, you're either for it or against it. If you're someone obviously that has student debt, then you're obviously this feels good. Obviously, you wish you would have forgiven more of your debt. You'll probably forgiven all the debt, but obviously $10,000 is you'll take it if you can get it. But if you're someone that did the responsible thing about making sure you paid your debt off, or even if you're someone that didn't even go to college, you're gonna be a little bit angry right now because it's not fair that you're paying for someone else's debt. Now, for those that obviously that got their debt relieved, I would pump the brakes on that because this thing may not even go through. So let me explain. Now, the reason why it might not go through because what Biden did was kind of not legal. Right? What I mean by that is he technically doesn't have the authority to forgive debt the way he did. Now, there's two circumstances in which he could do that. Now, usually if there's like war, he could forgive debt, or if there's an emergency. So based on what I've read and what other people have said, what the excuse that he's going to use, or the emergency that he's going to use, is obviously the pandemic. So what's going to happen, is what a lot of people think is going to happen is, this is going to get sent up to the Supreme Court, and it's probably going to get knocked down. So the question you ask yourself is like, then why do that? Why is even, say you're going to forgive loans when it's technically you can't even do it? Well, I mean, it's this thing called the midterms that's coming up, and obviously this is a good time to buy votes, because if you're going to use the excuse as the emergency, the pandemic, then why didn't you do this like 6 months ago? Well, why didn't you do this a year ago? Why did you wait until now to do it if you already had this authority? Because the pandemic has been going on for the past 2 years. So why didn't the president already do that already? Well, obviously, like I said, the midterms are coming up, and this is a great way to energize his base, or try to get people motivated to come and vote, for his party. So my guess is that's the reason why he did it now, because midterms is coming up in November, so he wants to find a way to get his base energized and say, you know what, this is what I'm doing. Like we're gonna take off up to $20,000 of student debt, and then hopefully get people energized, because obviously a lot of people expect Democrats to take a big hit when it comes to the House and the Senate. So maybe hopefully this is a way to either get them back over the top, or just lessen the damage of what a lot of people expect to happen. So if you're someone that's hoping this is going to happen, it's going to take a while. This is my guess. I have no idea, but a lot of people think this is going to take a while, and they think it's going to get to the Supreme Court, and it's going to get struck down. So this is something to keep your eye on. I know I'll be looking out for it, but for those that are excited, I would pump the brakes and keep a close eye on what's going on, because this is going to take a while for people to figure out, first of all, who verify incomes. So it's going to take a while for people to verify the incomes and who actually qualifies for the student debt. So, but a lot of people think it's going to get down. It's going to get sent to the Supreme Court, and it's going to get knocked down. All right. So now let's get to the topic, right, of why. So even if you're someone that, let's say that it does hold up, and if you're someone that has student debt, you get $10,000 to $20,000 knocked off your student loan. If you're that person, let me explain to you why, even if that happens, this forgiveness is not going to save you. So what I mean by that is financially. So you had 2 years. Everyone had 2 years, right, to make sure they, 2 years to make good on this payment, to pay down their debt, or save up the money to pay this debt. They paused the student loans for 2 years, and according to CNBC, even though they had this 2-year pause, about 93% of people are still not prepared to restart payments on the debt. So my question is, like, what have you been doing for the 2 years? You either did one or two things. Either was never expecting to pay back the loan, or two, you're just irresponsible with money. Right? It's one or the other, because if you have 2 years of where you don't have to pay the principal, you don't have to pay any interest, the responsible person will be like, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stack up some money, save up some money, and then put it to the side, so when things do restart, I'm going to be able to, to make sure that I'm making payments. But a lot of people are just like, you know what? A lot of people are just expecting the president to just, knock off these student loans. They just hoping to get their whole debt wiped off, right? But obviously that's not going to happen, especially if you owe more than $10,000 or $20,000 on student debt. All of it's not getting wiped out, so you're going to have to make, restart those payments, which is going to happen January 1st, because the president said this is the last extension, this is the last pause. So you got to get ready. But for 2 years, you had time to like put money aside, put the money away, build up a fund. So when things restart, you could have put money down on that for the student loan. But according to that article, 93% of people aren't prepared to restart payments. So, when you look at that, it's just like, you get a sense of like, all right, obviously people are not being responsible, not being accountable for the loans that they took out, right? And not only that, but a lot of people can make the argument like, why should we pay off these debts? That's other people's responsibility. And obviously a lot of people are going to make excuses for why we should. People need to get started with their lives or whatever excuse that people are going to make. But I don't know if people knew this, but most Americans don't have a 4-year degree. I looked at the stats and I was blown away by the stats that most Americans don't have a degree. If you look on Google at that, the percentage of Americans that actually have a degree is 38%. So the majority of people in America don't have a degree, right? On top of that, the percentage of people that actually have student loan debt is 14%. So most people don't have degrees and most people don't have student loan debt. But yet we're making this huge concession for all these people. Granted, it's a huge burden, but it's a burden that you signed up for. And granted, I understand, like you're 18 and you're like, you don't know anything. You're like, I need to go to college. I know people tell me this is how you succeed in life. So I have to go to college, but you didn't have to go to that college, or you knew what you were signing up for. And I understand, like I said, I understand like the naivete when it comes to doing these student debts. But at the same time, you knew how much you were borrowing, and of course you knew you had to pay this back, right? There's no excuse for that, right? And it is what it is, and we all know the crisis has been happening, but year after year, people are still signing up to go to college, people are still signing up to take out these loans. So why aren't you learning from past behavior, people's mistakes from the past? So it's just you got to be responsible for your choices. And if you look at that, people are using the excuse that, the student debt is stopping people from buying homes or getting married or just going on vacations. But I mean, that's not the reason. The reason what's stopping you from buying a home or stopping you getting married or moving on with life, as a lot of people would say, is you have poor money management skills. That's what it is. You're not managing your money properly. You're buying things that you don't need. You're spending more than you make. And I understand that the student debt is a burden, but there's so many ways and there's so many programs where you can figure out how to manage the amount of payments that you make on these student loans. And then you adjust your budget, accordingly. And there's so many other people that had, tens of thousands of dollars student loan debt and were able to pay this off. They were disciplined in their actions, and they made sure that, I got to pay this debt off, where they worked 2 jobs or whatever. They took on the responsibility of saying, I have to pay down this debt. But if you're someone that didn't do that, then that means that you didn't, you obviously weren't intentional with what you wanted to do with this debt. So. And I know from experience, because I was bad with money. Not once, but twice did I have over $30,000 of credit card debt, right? And you know what? I understand the impact that has, and I understood that it wasn't me. I didn't blame anyone. I didn't say, it was system or somebody targeted me. No, I made the choices to rack up that debt and not be responsible with my money. And I made the choice to eventually settle these debts and make sure I pay them off and now become debt free. So these are choices I made, and there's a lot of sacrifice I made to do that. And I also paid off my student loan debt. So I think for a lot of people, when it comes to the student debt, I understand that it's a burden and it's a lot for a lot of people. But I think the one thing people are not understanding is you have to be accountable for the choices that you make, especially when it comes to these student loan debts, because it's not the responsibility of other people. It's not fair that someone that didn't go to school, or someone that paid for they paid their student loan debt, to then have to also pay for other people's debt. That's not fair, whether you like it or not. And I understand people make the excuse that, we're paying for the war in Ukraine, or we bailed out banks and other businesses. Look, I'm not for any of those things. I don't think we should be doing any of those things. But that still doesn't, hide the fact that you should be responsible for your choices when it comes to the debt that you paid off, right? That you took on. So, that's my point. And it's obviously there's people can make arguments both ways. And I guess depending on the person, it's justified in that person's head. But from basically, you need to understand that though you got to be accountable for your loans, you got to be accountable for your debt, and if you're not, you got to make sure that you're putting yourself in a position where you're being disciplined in your actions when it comes to money management, because this will not save you. This loan forgiveness, $10,000 is nothing. Right? Obviously, if you have $10,000 debt, it's a huge win for you. But most people have more than $10,000, more than $20,000 of debt. So it will not save you. You have to start you got to start making decisions now to make sure that you put yourself in position to better your money, all right, to better your finances, all right. That's educating. Make sure you're budgeting, making sure that you're spending less than you're making. If you're not making enough and your expenses high, then you got to figure out how to way to earn more, all right. So you just got to. It's all about money management. I've learned from experience, and if I can do it, then a lot of people can do it. It's reading, educating yourself, and understanding that how to personal finance. And I know a lot of this stuff is not taught in school, but it's just stuff that you got to learn from experience. You got to read a book. There's a wealth of information out there. The internet is there, all right. So there's no excuse, okay. So be intentional with what you want to do with your money, because obviously when it comes to your life, you have control of your life. No one's there to save you. Government can't save you. Your mother can't. Your parents can't save you. It's all up to you. All right. So those are my thoughts on this. If you got any comments or questions, make sure to leave it down below. Hit the like button, share, and please do not forget to subscribe. All right. So you guys take care and have a good one. Later.